Hey everyone, David Barnett here. We got snow today for the first day this year, and so I thought I'd put on something bright to cheer up my mood because I'm always thinking that it's better to be feeling good about yourself and what's coming up next, right? And so today, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about an exit plan for Christmas for all of you business owners out there, and I'm going to be talking about some of the stuff that we've done here at ALP to create exit planning tools. But I'm going to be talking about some of the reasons why I think people avoid getting into this seriously, and it ends up being a costly mistake. So stay tuned, and we're going to be talking about exit planning, and in particular, getting yourself an exit plan for Christmas.
I'm David C. Barnett, and you're tuned in to Small Business and Deal Making, the podcast, YouTube channel, and blog where I talk about buying, selling, financing, and managing small and medium sized businesses while controlling risk. So, if you're looking to take control of your future through buying a business one day, or if you already own a business and you're looking to grow or exit, you've come to the right place. I talk about interesting things, I talk to interesting people, and I answer your questions every week right here. So, be sure to hit like and be sure to hit subscribe, and let's get to it.
Are you a small business owner that's thinking about exiting your business now or in the next few years? My team and I are here to help with our unique zero commission program that we've been using since 2016. We can show you what your business is worth, prepare the package you'll need before you meet your first buyer, even run a confidential online advertising program for you just like business brokers do. And we'll coach you through the whole process, or you can hire us to manage it all for you, including coordinating your whole sell-side deal team. Head over to howtosellmyownbusiness.com to learn about how my team and I can help you get ready by watching a series of videos we prepare that explain each step in detail. And if you're ready or just curious to learn more, reach out to us and we'll get you started or schedule a call to answer your questions. I look forward to meeting you and learning more about your business. All right, so I prepared a little slide deck here for today, and I even did some custom artwork. Thanks, of course, to AI. So here, let me share my screen, because what we can see there, of course, on the screen is that Santa Claus has just signed a deal to sell his toy factory, and you can see the big smile on his face. He's very happy. He's going to be retiring here soon. And, this is what most people think about when they think about the notion or the concept of exit planning. In fact, as I record this, it's a Monday morning. I'm going to be traveling later today to go to a hotel. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to be giving a presentation in front of a bunch of business owners who are all approaching retirement age. And they, when they hired me, they continuously interchanged business selling with exit planning, because I think for most small business owners, that's what they think exit planning is selling a business. And in reality, that's not what it is at all. Selling your business may be one outcome of an exit plan, but it's certainly not what exit planning is. And so let me flip through to the next slide here, because we've just recently re-released one of our programs for people that own a business, and it's called Exit Ready: The Owner's Guide to Profitable and Timely Exit. And so I'm going to follow along some of the little product information here, but we're going to be covering a lot more than that here in the talk today. But this program that we put together, Exit Ready, it's an education program that basically started back in my business broker days, because I used to give these talks to business owners all about what it takes to plan for the exit of a business. And because I was a business broker, I was very focused on the idea of selling these businesses, because that's how I earned a commission, right? And one of the things that kind of frustrated me a little bit as a business broker is often I would work with some of these people and I would point out to them the different reasons why their business may not be saleable. And then we would sometimes work on those things together, and create processes and systems and some of that Michael Gerber E-Myth stuff. And I've actually created a whole other program called Build a Business that people will want to buy. And if you want to learn more about my systems program, it's the website for that is easysmallbizsystems.com. And there's a whole intro video over there that teaches you about that stuff. But what would start to happen is it would help these people create a more saleable, more exit ready business. And then they would decide not to sell, right? Because they would start to then enjoy some of the benefits of business ownership as they had envisioned it, right? It would start to actually deliver for them and be less of a high stress job and more of an asset that they were conducting or managing rather than busy working 50 or 60 hours a weekend. So, this online program that we have, the first version of it was really about demystifying the selling process for business owners. And we've had lots of people take it over the years who, have reached back out saying, okay, I have a much better understanding of what it's going to be like for me to sell this business. This year, we went back and we completely revamped the whole thing and we widened the scope of the course. So it's not just about selling your business anymore. It's now also about the entire exit planning process. And we're going to touch on that as we go through here. As an online course, I've got a slide here just for people that don't know what that is. Basically, you watch these video lectures, and so there might be like a 45-minute lecture, for example. Then at the end of that lecture, there's tools to help you implement the content of that part of the program. And so the whole thing is broken down into 7 different steps. And we, of course, have some AI powered tools in there. There's some prompts in there. I'm going to cover some of that here as we go through this. But the whole idea is that with any complex process, um, you know, in business or even just like cooking something or doing a home renovation, it's really important to get the steps in the right order so that you can build upon your knowledge or build upon the base of what's important to further you down this whole pathway, right? A lot of the times when I go and talk with business owners and I'll ask them pointed questions like, what kind of income do you want to have in retirement? They will say things like, well, I want to be comfortable, but won't give me a number, right? And this is the kind of thing that we're talking about when we're talking about how people don't go through the process of planning. They just keep deferring, and it's almost like some people don't want to work on it because they're afraid of what they might find if they actually do the work. So let's dive in here and we'll look inside what is actually in the program, and it kind of follows the normal framework of an exit plan. And the very first stage is about analyzing your non-business resources. What does that mean? It means if the business just evaporated, what would you be left with? So for a lot of people, that might be their home. Maybe they have some retirement savings. Maybe they have a pension from a previous job, et cetera, right? And so in any kind of exit planning process, what I've come to realize is that most business owners just entirely focus on the value of their business and what their business might sell for, and is that going to be enough to retire? You actually have to start by looking at your other stuff because whether or not you have enough resources personally outside your business to fund your retirement or not is going to completely dictate what kind of exit plan is ultimately going to be required, uh, or if you can even retire at all. Right. So stage one of our program is all about personal financial readiness. And so it's tackles things and talks about the different experts that you're going to interact with, but we've got a bunch of tools in there to help you actually analyze your situation. There's retirement living cost forecasting spreadsheets, retirement needs calculators, net worth statements, life after exit discussion, and spousal alignment sheet, which is key because a lot of the times too, when I'm meeting with groups of people, I will literally find a husband and wife sitting together and with a few questions realize that both of them have a very different idea of what their retirement's going to be like. And of course, the earlier you can uncover these things and start to work towards consensus, the easier it's going to be for you. The next step in this whole process, once you've got an analysis of what your personal financial resources are and what your retirement should look like, is you then have to analyze the business. Do I really have a saleable business? And there's a bunch of stuff there on the screen for you guys that are listening on YouTube. But this is the part where we actually start to do the stuff that we are always talking about here on this channel. So, like analyzing SDE versus EBITDA, figuring out what the multiples are, figuring out what the capex is, what the operating capital should be, all that kind of stuff. And so in the online program, we have a module that goes through all of that, like analyzing your business to see whether it's sellable or not. And then there's a whole whack of tools there that help you with that as well. So the business self-assessment sellability scorecard, That whole process of understanding your own numbers. There's a tutorial there on how to do a normalization of your own income statement. You know, this you know checklist that you can go through that asks you pointed questions about your business and talks about what you should be working on or what would be ideal in the eyes of a buyer, right? It's only after you've figured out what your needs are in retirement and what your resources are outside the business and whether or not your business can be sellable or not that you can then get on to the next part, which is understanding what your actual exit options are. So, this whole part of the process is about analyzing the multitude of exit strategies. So, selling your business is just one. And then, even within selling your business, there's a variety of different target buyers who could be the people that take over your business, but there's other options beyond that too, and some of them are more lucrative than others. And which options are going to be open to you or not are going to depend on what your needs are, right? So this is why I talk about why the steps have to be done in order, and you actually have to do the work at each stage to understand what your position is with respect to being able to have these choices. So in the exit option planning, um, I'm kind of glossing over some of the points here. If you want to see all these points, if you're listening to the audio podcast, just go to howtosellmyownbusiness.com. The very first section there is the online training, and then there's a a much more detailed video on there that explains all the different parts of the program. I'm just kind of glossing over them here, but it was easy for me to just use part of the same presentation. So in that stage three, there's then worksheets that ask you questions about what's important to you, right? So, is it more important for you to get a higher dollar value, or is it more important for you to get, have your legacy carry on in the community, or have your employees continue in their careers? Or do you want to be in a position where you can actually continue to participate in the success of your business after someone else has taken over the day to day? So there's all these different sections in this tool that we built, where it asks you questions, and then you can go back and score yourself and give yourself points, and then it then directs you to use the scores to kind of identify which of the different exit strategies are probably the most apropos for you, right? We also have advisor discussion templates broken down. So, based on your exit strategy, what kinds of things should you be talking about with your lawyer? What kinds of things should you be talking about with your CPA? So that that you're going to be prepared, or if there's some you know glaring red light problem with your business or your industry or something specific like licensing or whatever that would prevent you from doing the exit plan that you think you want to do, bringing these conversations up early with your advisors, like your lawyer, your CPA, is going to draw your attention to these problems. And then you'll have to go back and figure out what your actual solution is going to be if the one that you thought was ideal is not going to be working for you. So, again, uh, all this stuff we put together based on our experience over the course of time working with different people, and on hearing the frustrations. Because one of the comments that I'll often hear when people are preparing for the period is they'll say, who do I hire to do this exit planning for me? Like, who's the person who's supposed to take care of all of this? And the answer that nobody wants to hear, which is the real answer, is you as the business owner. Back when you got started in business, making a business plan and making sure that your business was viable, that was your job as an entrepreneur. Even if you got help from someone else, like your accountant or some other advisor, coach, consultant, etc. And in the same way, your exit plan is ultimately up to you, and you have to be the quarterback amongst all your different advisors, and see how they're supposed to play together, right? So, and a lot of people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. And so as an entrepreneur, you are now taking your business into a new stage, right? Which is the stage where you become increasingly not a part of it, or you are, departing absolutely, in getting out of the business and handing things over to somebody else. And so you're the one that has to take the reins in this whole process. The stage four is the actual preparation of the business if you are going to sell it. So a lot of the different exit strategies, of course, involve changing the ownership of the business. And if you're going to do that, you need to prepare the business so that it is the most attractive thing that it can be. And that often takes a lot of work, and it often takes multiple years of planning and execution to do correctly, which is a big thing that people get wrong. Because a lot of the times, if people are just thinking that exit planning means selling the business, they don't put any effort into preparation, and they end up at the 11th hour just calling us up, for example, saying, "Now I want to sell my business this year." And it is very common for us, in over half the cases, I would say, for us to be able to show people that if they had started working on it 2 or 3 years earlier, they could have made really valuable changes to their business that would have resulted in hundreds of thousands of dollars of extra sale price if they had started working earlier. And this is one of the reasons why I work so hard to get this message out and I create products like this online course, is to help get people prepared earlier. This is not something that you leave until a year before you think you want to sell. Ideally, you should do this program 10 years before you think you might want to sell your business, because then you're going to realize all the different options that there are, and it could open your eyes to some very different kinds of exit plans that could be, in fact, more lucrative or have a greater degree of control with respect to timing. And that's the other thing that people don't necessarily think about is they always think about the price. They don't think about control, because the reality is if you put your business up for sale and with a broker, for example, or you put it up on your own for sale, you don't control when the buyer is going to come along and if the buyer is going to be able to access credit that they'll need to make a deal to buy your business, right? And so control can be as big a factor as price for a lot of people. In this business preparation section, there's all kinds of tools that we've added in here. There's an SOP and key employee priority worksheet. There's the due diligence checklist GPT that we built for Business Buyer Advantage. And we've included it here in this program so that business owners can really get an idea of what they're going to be asked to provide in the due diligence period, which catches a lot of business owners off guard. They don't understand just how detailed due diligence can be. And so this GPT is one that we built where you actually put in your real business name, address, et cetera, and the GPT will look at your industry, where you're located, et cetera, and create a due diligence checklist that it would be producing for someone trying to buy your business. And then you can ask yourself, like, if we were asked to provide all of this within a 10-day period, how big a task would it be? And you may realize that a lot of those things on that list are out of date. You don't know where they are. You don't know who manages them. You know that they have problems, etc. And so it gives you an opportunity to actually prepare yourself ahead of time. There's also a working capital review checklist. Working capital pegs and discussions about working capital during due diligence is a huge reason why deals fall apart, right? And so part of understanding what you're selling when you're selling your business is understanding what you've built. And if you've built a business that requires a huge operating capital position, that's going to have an impact on how much a buyer is willing to pay you if they're buying the business in an asset sale, or what kind of working capital they expect to be left in the business if they're doing some kind of share sale, right? So all of these things are put together in here for you to help you. There's the inventory and asset audit templates, and we also provided some information about machinery appraisal if you have a capital equipment intensive business. It's particularly important. The stage 5 part of the plan is the marketing and sales. So this is where we get more into like what it's like to actually sell a business. So as I said, this program once was just about selling your business, and that's been expanded to include all these other aspects of exit planning. So this is some of the the meat of it with respect to sales. And in this part, we've got things about an NDA prompt writer that we've helped, buyer screening questionnaires. Increasingly, there are buyers out there, blokes. They don't have any money, and they might talk a good game and they might waste a lot of your time. And so, any kind of buyer needs to be vetted for whether or not they're going to be qualified to buy your business. So we've created a checklist to help analyze buyers that come along. We've got an outline of what it's going to be like to build your confidential business profile if you're going to do it on your own. A buyer journey, seller reference. So what we did is we created a a document that documents the buyer's journey, from people who just initially say, "I want to buy a business," all the way to them actually becoming the owner of a business. Why is it important? Well, anyone who's successful in business understands that you need to consider what your customer is going through, right? And one of the biggest problems we've observed is that business owners have a hard time empathizing with the people who are buying businesses. They just don't see their point of view. So what we've done with this particular tool is we've mapped out the whole buyer journey to show you what the buyers are thinking at these different parts of the journey, what their fears are, and what they need from a seller in order to successfully move from one stage to the next. It's just like you thinking about what your customer wants with respect to your product or service that your business provides to make sure that you've got your marketing and sales, et cetera, tuned up to address your customers' needs. It's exactly the same thing. The difference is that you work on this every day with your business, and for most people, when they sell a business, they've never done it before. So they're not attuned to what the buyer is thinking or worried about, et cetera. So we put that together here for you. You're going to be using a business broker or other advisors when you sell your business. So we've created an interview questionnaire for all of the different types of advisors that you're going to use on this journey to help you choose the best ones. We've also got samples of the confidential business profiles, as well as some other stuff that promotes us, of course. Um, Deal making is stage 6. So again, there's a whole section in this book about deal making, or in the course about deal making. Some of the tools and exercise that we include here are an offer analysis worksheet. So we've also put together a deal risk assessment tool. So, in any potential offer, there are going to be some things that are risky or problematic about the offer. And so, what this assessment tool does is it goes through all the different kinds of risks that could exist for a seller in a particular offer and identifies what kinds of countermeasures might be applied if that particular risk is of concern to you. So it helps give you guidance into what you can do as far as a response to an offer to help de-risk the deal for yourself. And then the final one, of course, is the transition and legacy, or guiding the managers that you've selected to succeed you in the day-to-day operation, et cetera. And again, we've got a series of tools there for this as well. So the 90-day transition plan checklist. We've also got a farewell communication analysis, and will and estate needs. So this is something that people don't really often think about, but when you're a business owner, you have a will and a estate plan, et cetera, that you've put a lot of time and effort into, that considers all the aspects of being a business owner and the problems that could arise from your untimely passing. Once you sell a business or you exit out of it, all that stuff changes. And so we've created a checklist that you can go through to help make sure that all of those different affairs are going to be realigned, obviously with help from your accountant and your attorney and all that kind of stuff. But people often say like I didn't realize I needed to do that, or what stuff should I be doing? Well, this is a checklist you can go through with those other advisors. So who's this for? Well, exit planning is for every business owner. And even if it's to determine that your business isn't worth anything and you need a plan to shut it down one day, but for most people, their business is going to be worth something. And that means that they have to do a lot more consideration into what they're going to do and what that exit is going to look like. If you are uncertain whether your business is sellable or holds any value, then you might want to do this program that we have. It's super easy to go through and is going to shine the light on all the different areas that you may not be aware that you should be focused on. Owners planning to sell in the next 2 to 15 years, who need a to-do list. So people who say, I don't know what to do, tell me what to do. This program that we have, Exit Ready, would be perfect for that person, because it will give you the step-by-step to go through this whole process. Family business owners planning to keep it in the family would benefit tremendously from this process. And owners who prioritize legacy and want to see the next owner succeed, obviously, would do well with this program. The You could always find this over at howtosellmyownbusiness.com. And we have a link down in the description below. I would say, furthermore, if you feel like you don't want to do this, then there's likely a good chance that you really need to. Um, because you know there's often this nagging fear in the back of people's minds that they kind of feel something, but they don't really know it. and they're afraid of the outcome of actually doing the work to determine what could be there. Like, what is your business really valuable? Could it really be sold? Um, and I think that if you have that fear, going through a process like this is definitely going to be valuable for you because it's going to answer questions and actually give you direction. And there are a lot of businesses out there that don't really hold much value and probably can't be sold or et cetera. I would ask you this: is it better to know that 15 years before you plan to retire or 10 years before you plan to retire? Or is it better to know that the year before you plan on selling the business to fund your retirement? Because one of the things that I've uncovered recently in some other research that I've done is that the typical business owner retires almost 5 years later than the typical employee. And I know that part of that reason is because they get to the point where they'd like to start to retire and then they realize they can't afford to. And their ultimate response to that realization is just to keep running the business. So they end up losing not only money for retirement, they end up losing years of their life, where they may be off doing something else that they might enjoy more, but they can't because they didn't make a plan early enough. And for some people in an extreme situation where they have a business that may not hold value, they might realize, hey, you know what, I should pull the plug on this thing early and go get a job somewhere where I might still be able to get some pensionable years in and build some retirement savings. And that's another kind of outcome which, uh, you know, we may not like to talk about that on a channel like this, where we talk about small business and the realities of small business, and how great small businesses are. But the truth is that I would rather have someone armed with the understanding of their reality than somebody who is confused and has deceived themselves in some way. Because we certainly have dealt with many people, unfortunately, over the course of time who really believed they had a business that was worth something, that was, had a tangible value that they could sell to retire. And then we had to show them why their business didn't have the value that they thought was worth a lot less. We've also had people that have been dubious or questionable about the value of their business, and we've shown them that it's actually something quite valuable. So we don't know often about the feeling that we have. This is why we need to actually put numbers on paper and do calculations and figure out what makes sense. And I'm recording this in the fall of 2025. There is a Black Friday special this year for Exit Ready, and we'll put the link down below to the web page that has the Black Friday specials for 2025. So if this is something you've been thinking about, or after listening to me you realize, hey, I really should do this, now is a great time to sign on for that. Because it's a little bit of a savings, and we've added on a special bonus for people who want to take advantage of that. And of course, if you are ever interested in finding out our special deals and offers, the thing to do is to join the email list. The email list is always over at davidcbarnettlist.com. Yeah, anyway, thanks for tuning in this week, everybody. I always appreciate your attention, and we will see you next time. Cheers.
So, how can you learn more about buying, selling, financing, and managing small and medium sized businesses? Easy. Go over to my blog site, davidcbarnett.com, where you can learn more about me and how I work with my clients. You can learn more about my books and courses that I prepared for you. You can find out how to subscribe to my email list, the YouTube playlists, and more. There's literally hundreds of hours of content there, all for free, and I'd love for you to be my guest. Special thanks go to Mark Willis at Lake Growth Financial, today's video sponsor. Mark helps people better manage their personal and business finances through the Bank on Yourself insurance strategy. This is something I've done personally and have seen others use it successfully for years. Go to newbankingsolution.com to find all the interviews I've done with Mark and learn more about the advantages of these programs. While there, sign up for a free consultation to learn what this solution might look like for you.